Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series with me, your host, Gyle. As many of you are no doubt aware, the Galactic War campaign has finished and it is fully funded. Not only fully funded, but also well over the amount that ZEP required. It was originally €3,000 and it's actually more like 4,000. In fact, it's more than that thanks to the help of an anonymous donor who wishes to remain anonymous. It's more like 4,500. So thank you to him, and not only him, to everybody who donated. You've all helped make this project possible. And commiseration, ZEP, you better get to work now. There's a lot to do. But seriously, congratulations to him as well. On a side note, I've been in contact with John Mavell from Uber Entertainment, and for those of you that don't know already, they're working on Planetary Annihilation, which is kind of like the spiritual successor to the Supreme Commander series. And I asked them if there was anything I could help to do to promote his game. I got a message back from him saying it would be great if I could help promote the pre-order page. Now what's good about this is that if you weren't part of the Kickstarter project and you still want to get some early access to the alpha or beta, you can do that by purchasing one of the packages that they do. So you'll find a link to that pre-order page in the description below this video. On to today's game. We've been seeing a lot of very high level play recently by a whole bunch of pros, so I thought we'd turn it down a notch and have an average Joe's, because we haven't had one for ages and you're probably feeling very neglected. This one was sent in to me by Innocent Instinct, so thank you to him, and he's going to be facing off versus Aldarian. So let's head on over to Desert Joust and see how these guys get on. Desert Joust, of course, we're all pretty familiar. It's very simple, 2v2 or 4v4 or 4-player free-for-all, sorry, 2v2 or 1v1 or 4-player free-for-all. Very key, it's got a lot of mass in the middle, and if you can grab hold of that, it'll give you a nice start beginning of the game. And also you want most of the fight is probably going to take place over the two redundant starting locations, so it's very much a corner war for the most part. Both of these guys going UEF. We've got red up here, Innocent Instinct, and his opponent Aldarian down here. He's in the blue corner, and both doing pretty much exactly the same thing, all very standard. Going land, 2P gens, nothing too outrageous. That's good about these Average Joe replays as well. It's nice to see, especially for the newbies, what to do, but also what not to do. And in case any of you are wondering, I am an Average Joe myself. I might sound like an authority on some things occasionally, but I am not anywhere near the standard of any of the pros. This is much more my kind of level, and while I might know what I should do, I certainly don't always do it. But anyway, Innocent Instinct is on the move. Looks like he's making a move to the middle. If I hold up the shift button, I can see the command, and he's strutting all the way over to the middle. He wants to get his hands on some of that mass, and it looks like he's probably going to, because Aldarian is still in his base, making his base, using his ACU for extra build power, and he will probably suffer as a result. It's not to say it's always the worst thing. It does depend completely on the map, of course, but when there's mass to get your hands on, you probably want to get your ACU over there as quickly as possible. There's some early mech marines coming out down the left hand side for Innocent Instinct. They're going to help secure this little bottom left corner, and probably anticipating some kind of engineer moving through, going after the mass points, and that will help him clear a path for his own engineer so he can bag those as quickly as possible. I've got my Gaz UI mod installed once again so we can see how much mass that Innocent Instinct can pick up, and you can see he's over 1300 already, and with these two Salem class destroyer wrecks, don't know what they're doing this far into the desert. There must have been some catastrophe that way. That's a really long walk for them, interestingly as well, Instinct's not just going to hoover up the mass blindly. He's going to try and protect it. He doesn't want to waste any. That means his mass bar is probably full, or at least it was. So he hasn't got any mass storage yet, so that's falling way down. But rather than waste any, he's just going to get that PD up and running, and hopefully he'll be able to, at his leisure, scoop that up as and when he needs to, and that's what he's doing. But generally, it's a good idea if you're evenly matched not to worry too much about wasting that reclaim early on, purely because it's better that you waste it than your opponent get his hands on any. Now, this little mech marine's crossed the map from Aldarian. He's just going to wail away on this mass point. Doesn't look like there's anything in the near vicinity to come and reinforce to protect it, so that is going to go down. So a nice little pickup for Joey the mech marine there. Look at him. You gotta admit, there's few cuter robots on the net than these little fellas. Love them. But still completely unmolested in the middle. Instinct's just been allowed to plow away. He's going to try and get a land factory online with his ACU. We'll take a look at how much reclaim he's actually managed to bag. He's up 2,800 mass as opposed to a very pitiful comparable amount of 460 odd for Aldarian. Aldarian incidentally has moved his ACU over to the left-hand side. He's going to start producing some land factories, and that probably means that Instinct will have to yield this bottom left-hand corner. He's got absolutely nothing to defend with. One engineer and one mech marine will not work against an ACU and a couple of factories. So unless that gets reinforced soon, he has got a couple of Lobos coming down, and that will give him some firepower, but it won't be able to shoo off an AC on his own, so that will probably more than likely be a win very soon for Aldarian down there. But meanwhile, at the top right, Instinct is managing to get a hold on up there, and a colossal amount of land factories being clicked and just dragged across the map up for Instinct. You can see a few units coming across to the middle of the map, and that point defense proving its worth, going to town on it. I can see a drastic shortage though of power in Instinct's base. You can see how much it's hurting him, and it's very important for you newbies out there to consider setting one land factory nice and early on to just continuously produce engineers, and you can use those engineers to give you build power over time, and that will allow you to just continuously make, at least for the first say 10 minutes of the game, just keep making T1 power stations. You can see he's starting to build some now, but he's only got one engineer to do it, and that's going to take a long time to get him out of this kind of bottleneck that he's in. I imagine it's going to be a very different story for Aldarian, who's got his ACU out and he's taken out those mass points, the engineer and the Lobos, without any trouble whatsoever. Instinct did try to get a factory online, but that didn't get anywhere near completion. But if we take a look at Aldarian, he's exactly the opposite. You can see he's hurting for mass. Well, not hurting, but he's not in a particularly good way by comparison, but he's got all the power he needs because he's spent a lot more time building power stations. But having said that, the amount of unit build power that Instinct could have very soon, if these factories are allowed to get up and running, get online, that could be problems in the long game. Got a lot of T1 units in terms of, or in the form of strikers coming out for Aldarian. They're going to line up in a pretty straight formation, and Instinct's just going to do a little cartwheel, and once he realizes that he's probably outnumbered, he's going to back off a little bit. But the map looking a little bit healthier now for Aldarian. He's managed to get a little bit of a fortification up, and he shoved a plasma cannon, a T1 PD, in the wall sections there to give him a little bit of leeway. But Instinct not looking like he's trying to force any combat on that side at the moment. Still sitting pretty in the middle. He managed to get all of that mass. Just take a look, nearly 4k in terms of reclaim, so that has really helped him. We've got a lot of units now pouring out of his base, all strikers. It would be nice to see him mix in more of the Lobos. Lots of people think that it's important just to get the kind of direct fire units. It's less micro, it's, you know, you can just kind of click and move. It is good, but if you do get a lucky maneuver on someone's facilities and you don't have those artillery pieces, you're not going to be able to do the damage to those buildings quickly enough to take advantage of any positioning that you might have gained. Got a lot of strikers though moving in, trying to cut off this access from Aldarian, moving in from Instinct. Indeed, they're going to pour on in there to try and score some early points, but lots and lots of Lobo fire coming in from the back from Aldarian. That's going to cause all kinds of havoc. He is going to back off slightly. Numbers looking very even indeed. Aldarian's trying to get a T1 PD up on this ridge, and Instinct is just going to take this opportunity to shoot him in the face, and Aldarian's just going to take it. And Instinct really doesn't want that to get online. He's sent a whole bunch of strikers in there. Of course, that would be an easy takedown if he had more Lobos in the mix, of which he just doesn't seem to have any at the moment. This is all striker fire. But he does manage to get that taken down, and Aldarian is going to pull back. Doesn't like that at all. It would be good if he had some power storage. He could be overcharging a lot of these units, but I'm not seeing any in his base. That's the importance of getting at least one power storage up early, especially on a map where you know the commander is going to be utilized heavily for its combat power against any potential land spam. So both players need to get that. I'm guessing Instinct probably hasn't got any up either. I can't see any, and I imagine he's still bottlenecking power. He's alright, he's on +6 with a full bar, so he's really leaving no margin for error on the mid-game. But if he wants to start upgrading and things later, he's going to need some more power than that, so he needs to get on that. But a lovely little run by on the left-hand side, wants to get in range of this hydrocarbon and put some damage on it. I think he's focusing on it too much. He's just kind of... I think he's focusing too much on anything. It's more of a click move or attack move, and they're just kind of taking targets of opportunity. Wants to get this point defense taken down because that's going to do the most damage to the invading force. And this is where some Lobos in the mix would really have helped him. Just a few shots from those and that would have been made redundant. You can see still streaming in, but more or less single file at this point. Uldarian's going to have no problems hoovering up this little reinforcing band. Of course, he could take it out, and literally one overcharge would take out those three, and then he could just finish off the rest with his main cannon. Just really does display the importance of getting that energy storage up and running nice and early. We've got 3 bombers out now for Instinct, who's made the transition to more of an airplay. It's going to be interesting to see what he goes for. He's going straight for the commander by the looks of things, trying to put as much damage on him as possible. And slowly but surely that will cause problems for Uldarian over the course of the game. However, he is up to 34 kills, so he's going to be getting those hit point increases as and when he ranks up. So both guys doing certain things better than their opponent and certain things worse. Would love to see some more Lobos coming out for Instinct, and certainly Uldarian could have done with putting up more of a fight for the mass. But look at the amount of units dead on the ground for in the territory of Uldarian. He's not hurting too much for mass. He's floating a fair bit, which isn't ideal in itself. He needs to get more factories up and running. The sooner the better. Whole bunch of there's a little striker parking lot happening over here on the right hand side for Instinct. They have managed to take out that PD. They could blast their way through the wall sections and make a nice little incursion into the main base of Uldarian. That would really put the pressure on. But at the moment, despite the fact that Instinct kind of is failing pretty hard on economy, you can see how bad, how dire his power issue is. He is certainly being the more aggressive and certainly taking advantage of the weaknesses from his opponent. But look at the amount of mass that could be reclaimed if a couple of engineers were just able to get their hands on it. The commander's a little busy to be doing it at the moment because he's got to contend with all of these strikers. But he's down now to 4,500 HP, not looking healthy at all. And we could really do with some mobile anti-air. In fact, we've got some mobile anti-air. I'll just shot that down. Yeah, we've got some archers out on the field now for Uldarian. So that was nice work taking care of the bomber. He's got a T3 mass pump up there with T1s in his base. So I'm not sure if that was a mistake. I think it probably was. That was probably a misclick, and that will have cost him hugely if that goes down, because that would be giving him a massive boost. See, he's on plus 48 mass as opposed to the 35 mass that Instinct's on. And considering Instinct has a larger proportion of safe zones on the map, that is it's quite extraordinary. But that's all down to that T3 mass point. And Uldarian actually having to pull out of the bottom left now due to the amount of damage on his commander. He's up to around the 4,500, 5,000 hit point mark, but he's going to be able to get back in there, and he's got T2 up and running as well, which is nice. He's going to get a triad up. He's got some T2 engineers, but finally this little group of strikers that have been parked there doing nothing for ages are going to make a move into the base. And the time is quite nice because there were some reinforcements here for Uldarian that hadn't been moved out, but now they're gone. That's going to afford Instinct quite a bit of free reign to wreak havoc on Uldarian's base. You can see the difference that some Lobos make when attacking buildings. T1 artillery so much better. If those were strikers, that would have taken forever. But they're not being microed at the moment, which is a real shame. He needs to get them in here. Could be taking out this hydrocarbon, could be taking out lots of these T1 power gens. But seeing the success that he's having, Instinct is rerouting a whole bunch of strikers through the gap in the northern wall. Uldarian, in the meantime, is trying a little bit of a counter-offensive, but he's running into higher tech units. We've got some pillars out for Instinct, so Instinct is keeping up with the tech race. We've seen the T2 down here for Uldarian. But in terms of units being spammed out on the field, Instinct is definitely in control of this one. Has he sorted his power issues yet? He's a little bit better, but I'm not sure if that's just because he's not upgrading anything anymore. Still not seeing anything. If it wasn't for this hydrocarbon, he would be in debt. You can see it was plummeting down there again. But another little run by happening from Instinct into the main base. Needs to finish off this hydrocarbon. If he does, he wisely identifies that as a target of priority. Takes that out, and we'll see what that does to Uldarian's power. You can see it plummeting down now, and that could signal the end of Uldarian. I'm not sure he's going to be able to come back from this. At this point, we've got pillars now making their way into this bottom left-hand corner. Doesn't last too long because of all the triads that these engineers are getting up very nicely. Got a lot of mass that they could reclaim, but without the power these guys have to be able to use it, it's just not going to be of any use at all. And it really does signify the fact that it is an average Joe's game. You wouldn't see the pros get bottlenecked on power like this, and it's a simple fix. It really is. You just got to get those engineers out, keep them pumping out, and just get them to build T1 power until you make the transition to T2. But some nice bombing harassment from Instinct. He's got a whole lot of T1 bombers out, and they're going to town on those T2 engineers. Wants to stem the tide of the construction of all these triads. And indeed, he's working on those as well now. I think that may well be the end of this little left outpost. Uldarian has taken this time to get his commander out of there. Wisely getting out of the fight, getting some HP back on the regen. That's going to allow him to be effective once more. But this T3 mass point now getting primaried, and that's not long for this world. There doesn't seem to be anything really in there to stop all those units. That looks like that's going to be a win for Instinct, and that is going to be the end of that little side base, I think, for now. Having said that, Uldarian is moving his ACU back into this left-hand side. I can't believe how long the battle for this bottom left-hand corner has gone on for. So it's kind of a relentless stream of units from both sides. But Uldarian's probably not going to be able to keep up with this constant spam of T2 that's coming in as well. Again, not utilizing, however, the overcharge on his commander. Taking a lot of fire now. You can see his HP plummeting down below 5,000 hit points into the 4,500 range. Wisely turning around and moving out of there, letting his own units come through. Instinct decided to get in on the action. Has brought his ACU down. Says enough's enough. I've got to take this. It's gone on far too long, but Uldarian is now below 3,000 HP and falling below 2,000 HP. Gets a very nice rank up as he passes the 85 kill mark, and that gives him a little bit of leeway, but once again into the red, down to 3,000 HP and falling. He's doing all he can, but he needs to get out of there. I think that's going to be the end of the game. 500, 400, 300, 200, 100 Kaflooey. Very nicely done from Instinct. Shame Uldarian couldn't micro out of there. I think he was probably getting a little bit tired of the game. It didn't look like he was going to be able to claw it back. But yeah, just it's a shame. That game probably could have been over a long while ago. If he'd have just got the power out early, it would have been allowed him to tech up early. He had T2, so there's no reason he couldn't have been working on T2 power gens a long time ago and be getting out a lot more units. Could have got some T2 air up and running. Of course, you can't do that without sufficient power. But anyway, nicely played from both guys. Great to have some more average Joes. So feel free, guys. It's not just to send me replays. It's not just the pros who get an eye in. I will probably be doing some more in the future because they're more fun to cast because they're more my level. But anyway, take care, guys. See you soon. This is Gyle signing out.